finally talk books. I think we're all readers, and those who think they're not readers just haven't found
Safe inside this idea in my head.
Good morning, friends, and happy February. I am feeling quite hopeful going into this month because, you know what? January was a bit of a mess.
The city has even declared a state of emergency.
Trees have fallen through homes and cut off power.
On Friday, there were apparently 222 visits to the hospital.
Chaotic, to say the least. So if that was January, we are only going up from here in February. And yeah, it was hard. Landon and I were actually very impacted by the winter storm. We had a tree fall across the street onto the power lines directly in front of our house, and we were without electricity for 6 days. It got below freezing in our house. You can't live in that. You can't even think straight in that, or at least I couldn't. Luckily though, we had friends who didn't lose power, and so we stayed with them for most of that time. And winter chaos. And as I was looking up news clips to share with you guys about the winter storm in Portland, it hit me how serious it was, and it felt very serious in the moment, definitely. I mean, I felt very emotionally low. It was hard to go through. But the thing about being human is that we go through these things. Sometimes it's a winter storm, sometimes it's a breakup, sometimes it's a pandemic, sometimes it's getting laid off, sometimes it's war. We go through so much, and we have to normalize it in order to just carry on. We have to kind of like, I don't know a better word than normalize it, but like find our normal within these settings and just carry through. If you've gone through something hard recently, you are incredible. You are so strong. Just showing up every day to live your life is a feat in and of itself. So take this moment to pat yourself on the back. And if you have not already, go ahead and make yourselves a heartwarming cup of tea. Grab your coziest of comfy blankets. We are going to spend the day together. Specifically, I would love to talk to you guys about books and reading, because reading was my lifeline during January. And you guys, I read 7 books. I don't think I've ever read that many books in a single month in my life. But during the new year, I set the intention to become the type of woman who always has a book on me at all times. Someone who snatches away little moments to read a page here and there, or a chapter, who just prioritizes reading. And I took that very seriously this month, and I read 7 books. And my screen time is like nothing. So I'm very excited to geek out about the books that I read in January, because it was actually a really good book month. Not often do I read so many good books in a row. I'm really hoping to carry that momentum into February, into this month. But before we dive into books, I actually have to run to my French class. I've decided to continue my French studies, and I'm in my next semester of French class at the small school that I go to. It's sunny out, it's a beautiful day. Let's go into the city, practice some French, and then maybe go to a cozy cafe and read a book afterwards.
Les devoirs comme ça laissent l'opportunité de partager un peu votre personnalité. Parce que moi je vous dis, Ruth, moi j'apprécie l'art, mais je ne suis pas artiste dans l'âme. Donc avoir quelqu'un qui commence avec ça, ça fait plaisir.
Oh, you guys, my French class just makes me so happy. It's seriously this little joy bubble. I feel like I'm in a movie every time I go. And we're all just perfect strangers turned friends through the fun of learning a language just for fun. And it's not like university. Lots of city sounds going on right now. It's not like university. We have an age range from 24 to 82. We're all just learning French for fun, and it's very conversational and just absolutely wonderful. So I want to share a story with you guys. On the first day of class, my French teacher wore these bright red sparkly clogs, and they made me so excited. I loved them. They're like Wizard of Oz level red sparkly. So the next class, I was inspired and I wore my red shoes, and she loved that. And so did the rest of our class. I mean, there's only 3 students, including myself, plus our teacher. But we all decided that next class we would wear red shoes, which was this class. I have to stop recording every time I approach a crosswalk. Safety first. It's so bright and sunny outside. Ah, it feels so good. So, as I was saying, today we all wore red shoes, and it was absolutely wonderful. And I'm the youngest person in our class by 30 years. So it was just me and my 50-year-old plus friends all wearing red shoes in solidarity. Amazing.
Tootsie's in across from Morgan. There we go. What do we think?
Okay, you
Oh,
first.
okay, me first.
So I have decided that I'd like to go to a cafe and do some reading. One of the reasons I've been able to do so much reading this month is because I set the intention to have weekly reading dates with myself. Meaning that once a week, I take myself somewhere really beautiful with the intention just to be there and to read. And you guys, it's been so much fun and so special. Normally I go to like a cute cafe and I feel like I have to get so much work done, and so I try and be as productive as possible. But it's such a gift to be able to just go, sit, be, and read a story. So that's what we're gonna do. Hello. I come to you from the floor of my living room because this is the only place in my house at the moment that has good lighting. Here's my shoe. Just getting cozy. You should too if you haven't already. I imagine you have if you watched this far, in which case I should thank you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I've had a lot of fun. I hope that you have too. I came home to a package, and it's my stickers for my cinnamon and clove tier on Patreon. Every single month I illustrate some stickers and a postcard to mail out to my cinnamon and clove patrons, and wow, I wanted to open these with you guys. I always get so nervous. This is the sticker for this month. I absolutely love it. I thought it would be really cute on a notebook or a water bottle or wherever you stick stickers. Yeah, I'm really happy with how the colors turned out on this one. Yay! Here it is. And then this is the postcard for the month of January. It's my favorite postcard that I've ever made. This was the place that I escaped to during the cold, cold, cold winter week we had. In my mind, when I wasn't reading, I went here, and it embodies the coziness and warmth of winter in my mind. If you would like to receive that postcard and this sticker from me in the mail, sign up to my cinnamon and clove tier on Patreon today, the day that this video goes live, February 2nd. They're the January postcard and sticker, and I always mail out the previous month's postcard and sticker on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of the next month. So, seeing as this is going live on the 2nd, I'll make the cutoff date today. Thank you. Reading at that cafe was absolutely lovely. It always is. If you can, please do prioritize carving out 1 hour, 2 hours of time for yourself during the week to do something that you enjoy, just because you enjoy it. In no way does it have to be productive. It doesn't have to involve anyone else. Perhaps it shouldn't involve someone else. It's just for you. This is my spiel. If you've been here for a while, you'll know, at least every other video, I'm going on about how we should enjoy our lives, or that you do not have to be extraordinary to live an extraordinary life. Cheers to that, friends. It's the perfect temperature. My battery's dying, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in a new one, and then we will finally talk books. New battery in. Now, finally, it's time to discuss books. These are the books that I read in January, plus 4 more because I only had 3 physical copies of the books. I listened to 1 audiobook, and then I read, what's the math here? 3 books on my Kindle. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I have a Kindle. So, also, I'm old-fashioned in that I quite enjoy keeping track of the books I read with pen and paper. So, books I've read in 2024, I write the title and the author with my star rating, and then I have these colored circles, which are color-coded to match the genre of the novel. And I started my year off with 2 nonfiction reads, actually. The first was Enchantment, Awakening Wonder in an Anxious Age by Katherine May. And I actually read this book on my Kindle. And I gave it 2 stars out of 5 because I love the concept of it. It's meant to be about finding awe and wonder in ordinary life, reconnecting with the enchantment we felt as children to the outside world, to nature specifically. And I love that. But reading it felt like reading through Katherine May's journal. It was just random fragmented stories, and there were lessons in said stories, but I don't feel that they were fully processed enough in the novel itself. It really did just feel like reading a journal. So I loved the idea, but I didn't love the execution. It's a bit painful for me to give the first book of 2024 a 2-star rating. I do love Katherine May. She's also the author of Wintering. Moving on, I read or finished reading Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimerer, which is also sort of in the same camp as Enchantment. It's all about our relationship with the natural world. Throughout this novel or collection of essays, Robin shares her, her indigenous culture and history as guidance for how to better connect with nature during a time where we've grown very separated from the forest, the fields, the trees, the plants, the grass, you name it. It's so beautifully written, but is also a very dense brick. It was just one of those books that took discipline to complete, and I really had to sit with and process each chapter or each section. So it got 3 stars for me, which is good. Entering into a new genre, I then picked up Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I was given this for Christmas, actually, and it is another brick, but I devoured it. It took me, I don't know, 1 weekend to read this book, and I'm sure I had social plans during that weekend. I couldn't stop. I stayed up late. I read while brushing my teeth, while eating food, any spare minute I had to read. I was reading this, and the pacing was so satisfying, and I really, really liked the main character. I mean, look, there's a map. I get very excited by maps at the start of books. Fourth Wing got a 4-star rating from me. It lost 1 star in its ending. I was so dissatisfied with the ending. I don't want to give anything away. It's just that it follows a trope that I particularly dislike, and upon further research, it seems that the second book in this, is it a trilogy? Is it a series? The second book focuses mainly on that trope, and I don't know if I want to continue. On to the next one. Next, I read Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, and I had very high expectations for this book, namely because I absolutely love The House in the Cerulean Sea, also by T.J. Klune. It's one of my all-time favorite books, and so I went into this book with those expectations, and it fell very short of those expectations, and so I got a 2-star rating from me. I loved the sentiment behind the story. It was very sweet. Perhaps it's because I just finished reading the very exciting Fourth Wing, but Under the Whispering Door felt very boring to me, and it took forever to get through, and then it was also really, really sad in very big ways. It wasn't my favorite read, and I think that's all I need to say. It's okay to not like or love every single book. I'm glad that I read it though. Oh, the next book I read was actually an audiobook. I listened to We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. So this is kind of a self-help surrounding money. And if you are someone who really struggles with wealth guilt, meaning that you feel guilty for having money or having a comfortable life when there's so much suffering in the world, or when you have friends who really struggle or family members who really struggle, this book will help you. Simply put, it empowers women to make money, to be financially stable, and to do so without guilt. Next on my list was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë. This was actually my Patreon book club pick. We had a tie. It was Jane Eyre and Under the Whispering Door, so I read both of those. And if you're unfamiliar, I run an online book club, and about every other month we vote on which books we'd like to read. This is on my Patreon. At the end or beginning of a month, I will ask my patrons for book recommendations, and then I select the top most recommended books and put them in a poll, and then we vote on them, and then whichever one wins, we read. And Jane Eyre and Under the Whispering Door nearly tied. It was like just 2 votes off. So we read them both, and I will be honest, I was not looking forward to reading Jane Eyre this winter. I've read it twice before, and in my memory, I thought it to be a very dark, somber novel, which is something that I tend to stay away from in the winter, because the winter is hard for me. Yeah, I just like to not dip my toes in anything depressing during the dark, cold months. However, I absolutely loved reading through Jane Eyre this time around. I loved it. I love Jane. I found so much inspiration in this quiet feminism of a novel. It was bold for its time to think that a woman could be independent and then marry a man as an equal, not as a dependent. The thing I most admired about Jane, though, is that she held true to her values and behaved in a way always that aligned with her values, even when it involved making really, really hard decisions. She was authentic and true to her character, and there was a lot of character development throughout the novel. So I loved it. And the classic writing, ooh, I just love classic writing. It's so beautifully descriptive, and dialogues are just, they're a work of art. I cannot believe that once upon a time that was casual conversation. And yes, this does have a very gothic-y feel, and there's supernatural elements and harsh winter and dark mysteries, but Jane was a strong enough character that I didn't feel lost in the darkness of the surrounding. And I also think that I had this mixed up with Wuthering Heights in my mind by Emily Brontë, and that is a dreadful read. It's beautiful, but also It's brutal. And then my last read of January was Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett. And this was the second book to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which was one of my favorite reads of last year. I loved that book. And The Map of the Otherlands was so satisfying as a second book. It did not fall into the sophomore slump, and I just really enjoyed reading it. It's another book that I absolutely devoured. I finished it in a day. There were definitely things that bothered me in the second book, but overall, I loved reading it. So those are my January reads, and I really didn't expect to read 7 books last month, but like I said before, I was really intentional with filling my free time with reading / replacing phone time with story time, and a few things really helped. One important tip for how to read more is to read books that actually interest you. I have so many friends who aren't readers and they think they don't like reading, and then they find a book that clicks with them, that really interests them, and then they read it through in one weekend. I think we're all readers, and those who think they're not readers just haven't found the books that interest them. And I know that I read so much more and so much quicker when I'm reading something of interest to me. So if you've picked up a book, my general rule of thumb is to give it the first 50 pages, and if you've read 50 pages and it just doesn't interest you, move on. We don't have enough time to finish books that we don't like, unless you're part of a book club or at school and you're required to read a certain book. And even then, use your own judgment. You know how best to spend your time. I believe I have nothing more to say other than thank you so much for being here. I missed you. January was a long time to be away, and it's the first time ever, I think, that I've not filmed a single video in an entire month. But it feels very good to be back, and I just want you to know that I really value the time that you spend with me. Your time and your attention are both gifts, and this channel wouldn't exist without you. You watching my videos gives them value. I would not be here without you. So thank you for spending this day with me. Thank you for geeking out over books with me, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Also, I don't ever say this, but I really want to reach 100,000 subscribers this year. It's been 5 years and I'm so close. So if you have not already, please subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my videos. If you've watched a few and you feel any sort of kindredness to me and this community, please do consider subscribing and maybe like this video. Thank you. I love you all, and I will see you again soon.